Okay, good day everyone. So our topic for today is all about the communication for various purposes. So meaning to say it has something to do with our reasons or goals why we communicate in the first place. Okay, so let's proceed. So we have here the purposeful uses of communication. And according to Beverly Vicker, always communicate with purpose each day. People communicate with variety of reasons in a various ways. So meaning to say each person or each people have their own reason why we communicate in the very first place. It can be personal reason, it can be economical reason, or whatever it is. But the point is that always have a reason why communicate in the first place. Okay? Continue. While effectively communication is extremely broad, there are basic components for everyone to consider in order to communicate with purpose. So that's like effective communication and communication are two different things. So why? Simply because when we say effective communication, you consider your audience. That's why it's effective in the very first place. It's effective for you and as well as it's effective for your audience as well. So it is like you're being considerate in the first place. Wherein communication is just like why communicate? Your reason why you communicate. But then sometimes you don't consider your audience, especially their level of knowledge. Okay, so let's proceed. We have here the first one for purposeful uses of communication is we have an objective or your goal, your reason, or your main objective. Why you communicate in the very first place. Okay, is it for yourself? Is it for your audience? Is it for the society reason? Is it for educational purpose? So you should state your objective in the very first place before you communicate so that you will have an effective communication after all. Okay. Next, we have consider your audience. Take a moment to assume your audience perspective and reflect upon why your message is relevant to them. So it is like checking on your audience, being considerate at the same time, especially their level of knowledge as well as their POV, or when we say POV, their point of view. Because at the end of the day, we have different perspective or opinion. So that's why it is very important for us to consider the perspective of our audiences. Okay. Next, we have the level of details. So when we say level of details, consider what level of details is needed for the audience. So meaning to say it has something to do with the level of their knowledge. Right? Are your audience more of a higher level? Are your audience more of a lower level? Or your audience is just like on the middle ground? So for you, for us, speaker, it is actually very important for us to know the level of our audiences because at the end of the day, each and every one of us have different level of knowledge. That's why we should get the level of the details. Okay. Next, we have concern of their questions. Consider what concern or of question the audiences may have related to the topic. So it is like anticipating the questions that your audience might ask to you. So as a speaker, you should always be ready to that kind of question because it is actually very important for them to their question being addressed. That's why in communication we have the 6 C's of communication, and one of them is the completeness. Okay, so when we say completeness, all of the concerns and questions are being addressed. So with that, it completes the communication. Same thing with concern of question or questions if ever there are a lot of questions by your audiences. Okay. Next, we have be clear. be clear, not only be clear, but also at the same time, be clear and concise. Okay, so when we say concise, it has something to do with being brief, but at the same time, more of relevant information. Wherein it will lead to effective communication as well. Okay, and also when we say clear, clear in terms of your idea. Also, make sure that there will be no confusion on the part of your audience. Next, we have structure your message. So it has something to do with your message or the content having the beginning, the middle part, and at the ending part as well. Okay, so it is very important for them to see those three. So they will have a more direction. They will have more understanding towards your content. And next, we have defining, just like giving the meaning of technical words or terms wherein they might have a difficulty in terms of understanding those technical words. So it is very important for us to clarify the meaning of those technical words or technical terms. Okay. So next, we also have check for understanding. And one of the ways for us to check their understanding is by art of questioning or by providing questions towards your audiences. And lastly, we have the feedback. So when I say feedback, it has something to do with the response of your audience. So for us speakers, it is actually very important for us to have a feedback so that we can know if they really learn something. Okay. And also for us to improve ourselves as well. Okay. That's why we have constructive criticism in the first place. Okay. Also have the best practices in communication for various purposes. So it is like more of an approach. Okay, so the first one is develop your listening skills. Why? Because in the first place, listening is a skill. Okay, so listening is different from hearing because when we say hearing, it has something to do with our natural ability. Wherein, on the other side, listening is more of a skill. That's why listening skills, because not all of people can listen. Why? Because in the very first place, when we say listening, it requires an understanding. It requires a comprehension, an analysis before you understand what the speaker talks about. Okay. Next, we have pay attention to nonverbal messages or non-verbal languages, especially the facial expressions. Why? Because the facial expression is one of the nonverbal language wherein it is very visible to our naked eye. Okay? For example, he or she said yes, but then his or her facial expression is not much to his or her answer yes. So with that, you notice that maybe he or she have some question or maybe some confusion. It might be. Right? Next, we also have use positive language or more of praises. Praises towards your audience. Why? Why do we need praise towards our audience? It because it can motivate them to do better next time or to do even more better next time. Okay, that's why we need to use positive language to have a positive vibes as well. And next we have think before you speak. This one is actually very crucial in terms of communication. Why? Simply because words are powerful enough to hurt someone. So, as an individual, as a responsive individual, you should really think carefully before we speak. So, that's it for today. And I hope you learned something. And I will see you next week. Thank you and God bless everyone.
For more ICCT College's video updates, please subscribe and click the notification button.